You are standing at the checkout, watching the numbers climb. Milk, bread, a package of chicken, a frozen dinner, some snacks, a bag of salad that will go brown before Thursday. The girl says the number out loud, $140, and you pay it, because what else is there to do? You carry the bags to the car, and here is the part that hurts plainly. By Wednesday, half of it is gone or forgotten, and on Thursday you stand in front of a full refrigerator and say, out loud, there is nothing to eat. So you order food. Another $30, $170, and you still ate badly. Now let me show you my kitchen. In my kitchen, 1 week of food for 2 people costs about $50. Not a week of suffering. Not a week of thin soup and regret. A week of real meals. Rice, fish, vegetables, soup, pickles, eggs, tofu, food we sit down to, food we are glad to eat 3 times a day, $50. And on Sunday, plainly, the refrigerator is not full of forgotten things going soft in the drawer. It is nearly empty because everything got eaten. Everything got used. My name is Kenji Takara. I am 81 years old, and I live in Okinawa, in the warm south of Japan. I have lived a long life, and I have never in that life been a rich man. Beside me, as always, is my wife, Yuki. She is 78. She is the one who plans our week, as she has planned it for more than 50 years, and as her mother, Emiko, planned hers before her, in years just after the war, when a family ate on almost nothing, and not 1 grain of rice was ever thrown away. Emiko taught Yuki not a list of recipes, but a way of thinking about a week, and that, plainly, is what I am going to give you today. In the next 25 minutes, I will teach you this fully. I will explain the real thinking behind it, why a Japanese week of food costs so little, and why it is not about cheap food, but about structure. I will give you the actual shopping list, item by item, with real prices. I will walk you through the week, day by day, meal by meal, and show you how each thing becomes the next thing. I will tell you honestly where it is hard and where you might fail, and I will show you the real money, what this saves in a year. Because let me say it plainly, and with more sorrow than anger, the supermarket does not sell you food, it sells you decisions. It wants you to walk in without a plan, so that you buy with your eyes and your hunger. The box, the bag, the thing that looked good. And a person with no plan buys 10 beginnings and no endings. 10 things that do not connect to each other. That is why the bags are heavy and the refrigerator is full and there is still nothing to eat on Thursday. And the number is enormous. The average American household spends, plainly, well over $1,000 a month on food, between the store and the ordering. And a great deal of that, hundreds of dollars a year, by every honest study, is carried out to the trash, uneaten. In Japan, we have a word for the shame of that, mottainai, the feeling that everything has value, and to let good food die in a drawer is a small disrespect to the hands that grew it. Today we set it right. Before we go on, one small thing, and then I will not mention it again. Yuki and I have gathered these old methods, the week, the shopping, the making of one thing into the next, into a book, at kenjitakara.com, for anyone who wishes to keep them in one place. That is all I will say of it. It waits there if you want it. Now let us begin. So let me give you the first principle, the one idea that everything rests upon, and then I will walk you through the whole week. Here it is. A cheap week of food is not built from cheap meals. It is built from a foundation and a rotation. The foundation is a small handful of very cheap staples you buy in bulk: rice and a soup base, and eggs, and one or two proteins that do not change from week to week. The rotation is the vegetables, which change with what is cheap that week. And the trick, the whole trick, is that every meal must leave something behind that becomes the next meal. The rice becomes fried rice. The fish becomes broth. The broth becomes soup. The soup becomes the sauce for the noodles. Nothing is an ending. Everything is a beginning. Plainly, you do not plan 7 separate dinners. You plan one chain. Stay with me. I will show you exactly how it links together, link by link. Now let me explain the thinking plainly, the way Yuki explained it to me when I was young and thought food was simply something you bought when you were hungry. Why does a Japanese week cost so little? People think it is because the food is simple or because we eat small. That is not the reason. Here is the real reason, and it is worth understanding before you spend a single dollar. The Western plate is built around a large piece of protein in the center. Meat is the meal, and everything else is decoration around it. That plate is expensive because meat is the most expensive thing in any store, and you are buying it in the largest quantity every single day. The Japanese plate is built the other way around. Rice is the center. Rice is the meal, and everything else, the fish, the meat, the egg, the vegetables, is there in small amounts to make the rice good. We even have a word for it: okazu, the thing that goes with the rice. Now think about what that does to your money. A pound of good rice costs perhaps $1 and feeds a family. A pound of meat costs $5, $10, $15 and feeds them once. When rice is the center, a small piece of fish worth $2 flavors an entire meal for 2 people because it does not need to fill them. The rice fills them. The fish only needs to make them happy. That single change, meat as flavoring instead of meat as substance, cuts the cost of a week in half, all by itself. That is not a trick. That is the whole architecture of it. And the second reason, plainly, is the chain I spoke of. In a Western week, each meal is an island. You cook it, you eat it, and what is left goes into a plastic box that will be thrown away on Sunday. In a Japanese week, each meal feeds the next. Nothing terminates. That structure is what kills the waste, and the waste is where the money truly goes. Now let me give you the actual list. Real things, real prices, honestly. The foundation first. The things you buy once and use all week. Rice. A 10-pound bag plainly costs about $10 to $12, and it will last a family of 2 for a month or more. So call it $3 for the week. This is the floor of everything. Eggs. A dozen, about $3 or $4. These are your protein rescue, your breakfast, your topping, your Thursday dinner. Miso. A tub, $4 or $5, and it lasts for months in the refrigerator. Call it 50 cents for the week. This is your soup, every morning, for pennies a bowl. Dried kombu kelp and dried bonito flakes, or dried anchovies, the makings of dashi, our soup base. A bag of each costs a few dollars and lasts many weeks. Call it $1 for the week. This is the single most important cheap ingredient in the Japanese kitchen, and I will explain it in a moment. Soy sauce, rice vinegar, oil, salt. You buy these rarely and use them always. Call it $1 for the week. Tofu, 2 blocks, about $4 total. Cheap protein that takes any flavor you give it. That is your foundation, plainly, for about $12 or $13. Now the rotation, the fresh things, which change with what is cheap. One whole fish or a fish frame and head? Ask at the counter. A whole small fish, plainly, $4 to $7, and it will give you the fillets for one meal and the head and bones for a broth that makes two more. Or ask for just the heads and frames, which are often free or $1. One package of cheap, tough beef or pork, the stir-fry cut, the stew meat, $3 to $5 a pound. 1 pound is enough for 2 meals when it flavors the rice instead of filling the plate. One chicken, whole, if it is on sale. Plainly, $7 or $8, because a whole chicken is 3 meals and then a broth. Never buy the boneless breast. It is the most expensive way to buy a chicken, and it gives you no bones. And vegetables. And here, listen carefully. Do not buy from a list. Buy what is cheap and what is in season. That is the whole rule. A cabbage, $2. A daikon or a few carrots, $2. An onion or two, $1. Whatever green is cheapest that week, $2. Bean sprouts, $1. Yuki has never once walked into a market with a vegetable written on her list. She walks in and looks at the prices and lets the market tell her what the week will be. That is the old way, and it is why she never pays a high price for anything. Add it up. Plainly, foundation, 13. Fish, 5. Meat, 4. Chicken, 8. Vegetables, 8. Eggs and tofu, 7. That is about $45, and we have room to spare. $50, and the week is bought. Now let me give you the chain, how the week actually links together. This is the part nobody teaches. It begins with rice. On Sunday, Yuki cooks a large pot of rice, more than we need. Cooked rice keeps several days in the refrigerator, and here is a thing worth knowing. Day-old rice is better than fresh rice for frying, because it has dried a little and the grains stay separate instead of turning to paste. So the rice you cook on Sunday is already planning to be Wednesday's fried rice. The pot is not one meal. It is the spine of the week. Then dashi. This is the heart of the Japanese kitchen and the cheapest flavor in the world, so let me explain it plainly. You take a piece of dried kombu kelp and soak it in cold water. Heat it gently, and this matters. Take the kombu out just before the water boils, because boiled kombu turns slimy and bitter. Then add a handful of dried bonito flakes, let them steep for a minute, and strain. That is dashi. It takes 15 minutes and costs perhaps 30 cents, and it is the base of nearly everything. The miso soup, the simmered vegetables, the noodle broth, the sauce. One pot of dashi on Sunday, kept in the refrigerator, is 5 meals worth of flavor for the price of a candy bar. This, more than anything else, is why our week costs $50. Now, the fish. Monday, the fillets are cooked simply. Salted, grilled, laid over rice, with a bowl of miso soup. 2 small fillets feed 2 people, because the rice is the meal, and the head and the bones do not go in the trash. They go into a pot with cold water, cleaned of blood and gills, simmered gently for half an hour, never boiled hard, and that is a fish broth of extraordinary richness, for nothing. That broth becomes Tuesday's noodle soup, or Wednesday's rice porridge. The chicken. Sunday it is roasted or simmered whole. Monday the leftover meat, shredded, goes over rice with an egg, and the carcass, the bones, go into a pot overnight and become chicken broth, which becomes soup, which becomes the liquid for cooking the next pot of rice, which makes even the rice taste of chicken. One bird, plainly, 4 meals and a broth. That is what a whole chicken is for. That is why the boneless breast is a trap. The tough beef, sliced thin against the grain. And here is the small piece of magic, rubbed with a little baking soda, about a teaspoon per pound, left 15 minutes, then rinsed well and patted dry. That is velveting, the old Chinese trick, and it makes $2 meat eat like the expensive cut. Then a hot pan with cabbage and onion and a spoon of soy sauce over rice. 1 pound feeds 4 people that way. 2 dinners from a $4 package. And the eggs. Eggs are the rescue of any week. When the day is long and there is nothing, an egg over hot rice with a little soy sauce is a real meal, in 90 seconds for 50 cents. Yuki calls it the meal that saves you from the telephone, from ordering. Here is a small thing Yuki and I have done for many years. We keep a simple notebook. What we bought, what it cost, and what got eaten. That is all. And after a month, that notebook tells you the truth about your own kitchen, which things always get used, and which things you buy every week and always throw away. The template is in the resource at Kenji Takara.com if you would like it, but truly, a scrap of paper on the refrigerator does the same job. The writing down is the thing, not the paper. Now the honest scope, where this is hard and where you might fail. I will not pretend it is effortless. The first hard truth, this takes time, not much, but some. The rice pot on Sunday, the dashi, the broth simmering while you do something else. If you have no 30 minutes on a Sunday, this way of eating will fight you. Plainly, you are trading a little time for a great deal of money. That is the honest bargain, and you should know it before you begin. The second hard truth, you must actually eat what you planned. The plan fails on Thursday, when you are tired and the telephone is right there. That is where every meal plan dies. This is why the egg matters. This is why the day-old rice matters. The plan must include the tired day, or the tired day will destroy it. The third hard truth, some of these ingredients need a trip to an Asian market or an online order. Miso, kombu, bonito, and they are not in every small town. But hear the honest part. They last for months. They are cheap, and one trip stocks you for a season. Do not let the first trip stop you. And now the real safety plainly, because we are talking about cooking ahead and keeping food, and I will not let you be careless. Cooked rice is the one to watch. Cooked rice, left sitting at room temperature for hours, can grow a bacteria called Bacillus cereus, which produces a toxin that cooking again will not destroy. So cool your rice quickly. Spread it on a wide tray. Do not leave the warm pot on the stove all afternoon, and get it into the refrigerator within an hour or two. Then use it within 3 or 4 days and reheat it hot. Do that, and rice is perfectly safe. Do not do it, and rice is the one food in this whole plan that can make you ill. The same rule for broth. Cool it fast in a sink of cold water, refrigerate it, use it in 3 or 4 days, or freeze it. And as always, if anything smells sour, sharp, or wrong, throw it away. Trust your nose. It has never lied to you. Now, matanai, total use, nothing wasted. And you have seen it already, running through the whole week like a thread. The fish head became the broth. The chicken bones became the soup. The day-old rice became the fried rice. But go further, as we always do. The outer cabbage leaves and the carrot tops and the daikon greens, do not throw them away. Salt them lightly and press them, and they are a pickle by tomorrow. The vegetable scraps too small for anything go into the broth pot. The last spoonful of cold rice, dropped into hot broth, becomes a bowl of ojia, rice porridge, which is what Yuki makes on the last night of the week, when the refrigerator is nearly empty. That bowl, plainly, is my favorite meal of the entire week. It is made from what is left. It costs nothing, and it is the proof that the chain held all the way to Sunday, and the week continues itself. The leftover dashi starts the next week's soup. The frozen broth cubes wait in the freezer. The bag of rice is still there. You do not start from zero each Sunday. You start from what the last week handed you. That is what a foundation means. Now, the money. Let us count it plainly, because this is where you see what it is truly worth. Our week, about $50 for 2 people, all meals. Now count the other side. A household that shops without a plan and orders on the tired nights spends plainly $140 at the store and another $60 or $80 on delivery. Call it $200 for that same week. That is a difference of $150 every week. Now let it grow. $150 a week times 52 weeks is $7,800 in a single year. Even if you only capture half of that, even if you are honest and admit you will not do this perfectly, that is nearly $4,000 a year kept in your pocket from a bag of rice, a pot of dashi, and a way of thinking about a week. Real money, your money, and you will eat better, not worse. That is the part that surprises people most. So here is your task for this weekend. Just one thing. Do not build the whole week. On Sunday, cook 1 large pot of rice, more than you need. Cool it quickly and put it in the refrigerator. Then, this week, when you would have ordered food, take that cold rice, crack an egg over it, add a little soy sauce, and eat it. That one small habit, rice already waiting in the refrigerator, is the single hinge the entire plan turns on. 1 pot of rice. That is all. See for yourself what it does to your week. And then, tell me in the comments, how did your mother or your grandmother plan a week of food when the money was short? What was the meal made from what was left at the end of the week in your family? Every house had one. Those small plans, the ones nobody wrote down, are the first to disappear. Here, right here, is where we remember them together. Write it down, share it. Let us gather the old wisdom, all of us, before it is lost for good. And next time, Yuki and I are going to show you the dashi itself, from the beginning, how 15 minutes and 30 cents of dried kelp gives you the flavor that carries an entire week of meals, the old Okinawa way. If you wish to learn it, stay with us, subscribe, and walk this quiet old road beside us. Let me leave you, as always, with the whole thing in a single sentence. Make rice the center, make broth from the bones, and let every meal leave something behind for the next one. And a week of good food will cost you $50.